it's court related or not, an express trust is necessary. And this is why. Express trust is always used to protect an asset. If you have a vehicle, if you have a house, if you have a business, that's one, because it does not qualify for taxation. Now, if you are still a W-2 employer, meaning you're gaining earned income, there are three types of income. There's earned income, there's portfolio income, and there's cash flow, aka passive income. If you are earning the first type of income, which is earned income, express trust might not really help you that well.
I'm not.
Okay, so say you are like an independent contractor or something like that, then it would assist you. Because what would happen is in your bookkeeping, when you do so instead of doing a 1040 tax form, you do a 1041. What would happen is when you do a 1041 with either a 508 or express trust, the IRS actually writes you check back, because most of what you're doing as an independent contractor or whatever you're doing in a business will be on behalf of that trust. Therefore, that social security number is not the one making the money. The social security number exists in this system for the purpose of basically having their hands in your pocket. It's that simple. That's that realm, on the realm of making monies, without going too deep. Now, on the realm of, and also in the realm of protecting your assets, because if you already, so say for instance, with the vehicle, if the express trust is the first lien holder and anything happens to it and they say we're going to tow it, every time a vehicle is towed or any property taken, the municipality fills out a 1099A and a 1099C so that they can make money on it. And they make themselves or the junkyard the first lien holder before you're able to get it back if it's free and clear. What happens is they cannot make any money on it if the express trust is already the first lien holder. And that basically causes them to just let it go because it's a liability. And I have seen people in circumstances like that before, but just once. So I can't say whether that's an exception, but based on principles, that is how it's supposed to work. Now, that's that on money and protection. And when it comes to the birth certificate, that thing does have a monetary value. But the thing is, the way people are going about it is not the way. That thing called secure party creditor that people do was a process that was done in the late 90s, but was eventually dropped by the people who tried to do it. But in the early or mid 2000, around the mortgage crisis in 2008 and whatnot, there was a psychological operation by the quote government to bring it back up to hinder people from knowing how things really work. When people do hold harmless agreement, they don't realize that hold harmless are done for the purpose of saying, I can't do anything to you. So when people do hold harmless agreements, they're saying the government cannot be held liable. And
that's what I was confused about. I'm watching this stuff, I'm reading all these things. I'm like, why would I tell the government it's cool, don't worry, you guys have no repercussions, it's fine, you guys can get away with anything? It didn't make sense to me.
Right, it's backwards. And most people don't know how contract law works. So they just pick it up, they see all these fancy words, they know send this paper, and it's an exciting thing that's different from the norm. So people just do it. Another thing is finding a surety signature. A surety only exists if you are a debtor. Only a debtor requires a surety, like a guarantor for a debt. That term surety and a guarantor, same thing. So if you are saying you are a secure party creditor, meaning you're a creditor, why then are you looking for a surety to sign for you? A surety only exists to sign on behalf of a debtor. That's another counterproductive thing that people don't think about. The key is the UCC is valid to be used with that birth certificate. On the face of UCC 1, the first line 1 says who the secured party is. That's where that term secured party creditor comes in. The UCC is where the term secured party and creditor comes from. There's no such thing as a secured party creditor. There's a creditor, there's a secured party. Those are two different status. A secured party is another word for a first lien holder, meaning I have a secured interest in someone else's property because they owe me something. You owe me $2,000, so I'll use your pen as a collateral, which is also worth $2,000 in case you can't pay me. Therefore, I've secured this contract with this pen. Therefore, I am your secured party. A creditor is someone who says, I give you money, but I'm not using anything as a collateral. So those are two different status that are related, but not the same. So when you fill out the non-UCC, presuming you've done the authentication on a county level and federal level,
Hey, I'm inviting you to come join the patron page. Not only do you get access to documents, posts, and videos that you will never find on any other platforms, you also get instant access to webinars that otherwise will cost far more. And we speak of things that usually we would not be able to speak of on any other platforms far more freely. On top of that, you get the opportunity to send me monthly questions.
That's called underwriting. What you're doing is when you look at that birth certificate and you scan it, it will show you void in the background of it. What people don't realize is all they're authenticating is a void instrument. It's a dead instrument. They tell you, they show you it's void. It's the signature of the clerk that you're really authenticating, not the monetary value. And most people, even after authenticating it and you ask them, okay, what do you do now with it? They will tell you nothing. What is now required is you have to create a first lien holder to the potential monetary value of it, which will be your express trust, because your express trust will always be in the holder privately. And the public face will be the 508 trust, which is according to First Amendment religious rights. And that's also the reason why 508 cannot be taxed. So the first lien holder to the authenticated birth certificate will be the express trust. And after that, you will do a copyright on the interest of it. Once that is done, you will now take that financing statement and do something called a private placement memorandum. A private placement memorandum is a set of or a conglomerate of different documents that establish your right and interest. So in anything in property, there's really no such thing as ownership. The main thing is interest, because interest is how you control something. And ultimately, that's what you want. When you own it, you're liable. When you control it, 1 second. So that's the 30 minutes. But when you control it, that's where you begin to have real power. After people authenticate that birth certificate, they still have a voided instrument. In order to now put value on that voided instrument, there's something called a private placement memorandum, which is an exemption from the Security and Exchange Commission Act of 1933 that allows you to be able to act as an investor to any type of instrument with monetary value, or to create something called a valuation. So whenever promissory notes or any type of instruments are created, the process of putting value on it is called valuation. And the PPM, the private placement memorandum, does that. But for you to be able to use a PPM, you need to first show that there's a trust involved, because that name on that birth certificate, Jane Doe, must not be the same as the name of whoever is controlling it. Therefore, there has to be a holding entity called a trust. And you become the controlling member by using a foreign trustee to not qualify for something called court test and control test. Court test and control test is how any given trust is brought back into the jurisdiction of the United States, whether you're doing it for monetary purposes or just asset protection. And in this case of the birth certificate, it's both, because your sweat equity is attached to it. Whenever a parent gives birth to a child, they sign forms that creates that birth certificate. But what was supposed to happen is a trust was supposed to be established by the parent for the trust, for the child. But the United States steps in predominantly because they know people don't know how things work, and puts it in their trust called the Social Security Administration and all the agencies and the departments by issuing a derivative of it. When you begin to do the non-UCC, which is the lien on it, your trust becomes a secure party to that birth certificate, and the private placement memorandum begins to put value in it for you to now use through investment. Now, when you use the value of it, you don't just directly throw it in a bank account and you have billions of dollars. What you have to do is now, instead of them going in the market and using it without your permission, that trust that you have and that PPM that you have established causes them to come to you first and sharecrop it properly and give you a cut of its value that they're using in the stock and bonds market. So we'll stop there for now, because